I grew up on the outskirts of El Paso, Texas, in a trailer park that always smelled like dust and gasoline. My childhood was quiet, painfully quiet. When I was 13, my mother didn't come home one night. They found her 3 days later behind an abandoned gas station, a heroin overdose. I never met my father. His name wasn't even on my birth certificate. I remember sitting in that child services office, my backpack on my lap, my whole life packed into one torn zipper. I didn't cry. I didn't feel anything, just hollow. They placed me into a foster home run by a woman named Caroline Huxley, a woman in her early 50s with a permanent smile that never reached her eyes. 5 kids lived there. I became the 6th. And even though the house stood on an empty patch of Texan land, surrounded by mesquite trees and nothingness, it still felt too small for all the secrets that lived inside it. My only friend was Elena, a girl my age, abandoned outside a church in Austin. Both of us were quiet, broken in our own ways. We understood each other without talking too much. For a while, I thought life couldn't get worse. I was wrong.
Caroline had a boyfriend, Ray Dalton, mid-40s, heavy boots, and a long burn scar crawling down his neck like melted plastic. I'd never liked him. He never liked me either. Caroline acted different whenever Ray was around. She'd put on perfume, fix her hair, laugh too loudly at things that weren't funny. They'd go out at night and return long after we were asleep. One afternoon, Elena fell off the swing in the backyard, twisting her ankle. I ran inside to get Caroline. When she opened her bedroom door, I froze. Her room was nothing like the rest of the house. The walls were covered in bright, shimmering wallpaper, roses, birds, butterflies, almost glowing in the sunlight. The smell in that room was chemical, sterile, like a hospital trying too hard to hide rot. While Caroline tended to Elena downstairs, I stayed behind, staring at the patterns. When I placed my palm on the wallpaper, it felt warm. And then a whisper brushed against my ear. "Don't leave me here!" I jerked back, heart slamming against my ribs. I wasn't imagining it. I couldn't have been. I whispered, "Who's there?" No answer. Just a faint scratching sound from inside the wall. My blood went cold. Then Caroline's voice snapped behind me. "What do you think you're doing?" I nearly screamed. Her smile was thin, strained. I was just looking." "Then stop," she said softly. Too softly. I left the room with my skin crawling.
Months passed. 2 kids were adopted. Only Elena, a younger boy named Luke, and I remained. Ray was always around, always watching me. One night, while I lay awake, I heard Caroline and Ray arguing downstairs. His voice was sharp. "She's getting too curious. We need to deal with her." Caroline hissed back. "She's a kid, Ray. Kids don't matter. She won't figure it out." Ray growled. "She asked about the basement. She asked what was in the trunk. You want another California mess?" California? I held my breath so tightly my chest burned. Caroline whispered, "Fine, I'll keep the basement locked. But that trunk needs to go soon." I didn't sleep at all that night.
Everything spiraled after that. The house creaked at night, scratching along the walls, soft weeping behind the wallpaper. a wet sound, like something shifting under the surface. One afternoon, a pipe burst under the kitchen sink. Ray came to fix it. "I need the wrench," he muttered. "Basement." Caroline looked at me. "You, go get it." My stomach tightened, but I obeyed. The basement smelled like damp earth and rust. Cobwebs hung from the ceiling. The light flickered weakly. On a shelf sat the wrench, but something darker caught my eye. A huge trunk in the corner, locked, bolted, chained. I stepped toward it. A sound whispered from inside. A breath. Ray suddenly appeared behind me. "What are you doing?" he snapped. "I heard something. There's nothing in it but junk." His eyes didn't blink. "Get upstairs." He locked the basement door behind me. That night, footsteps paced outside my bedroom. Slow, measured, heavy. Ray's voice drifted through the crack of the door. "Maybe tonight."
Saturday night, Caroline and Ray went out. Elena, Luke, and I played hide and seek. Luke was found quickly. Elena wasn't. The house felt wrong. Too quiet. Too still. The only place left was Caroline's room. I pushed the door open. The wallpaper smelled stronger, sharp, chemical, suffocating. The colors looked swollen, wet. Elena jumped out of the wardrobe to scare me, slipped, and hit the wall. The wallpaper split open. A hole tore across it, and hundreds of insects, ants, spiders, roaches poured out. We screamed and ran outside. Our neighbor, Mr. Wheeler, rushed in to help, but the moment he saw inside that bedroom, he turned pale, whispered something to himself, and called the police. Immediately. The truth unraveled fast. Caroline Huxley and Ray Dalton were fugitives, serial killers from California. The trunk in the basement was filled with human bones. But the worst part, the wallpaper. It wasn't wallpaper. It was skin. Treated, stretched, decorated. Badly preserved, which is why the insects always crawled behind it. Those whispers I heard, they were real. Caroline and Ray buried their victims inside the walls, using chemicals to mask the smell, painting over the rot, hoping no one would notice. The cops tore down the wallpaper, and behind it, faces. Hollow, gray, pressed beneath the surface. As they dragged Ray to the police car, he stared at me with bloodshot eyes. "I told her we should have killed you first." I'll never forget that, or the way his mouth twisted into a smile that felt like a promise. Caroline didn't scream. She didn't cry. She just looked at me and whispered, "You were supposed to be next." Ever since that night, I hear things. When I sleep, when I'm alone, when walls are too close. Scratching, breathing, whispers begging me not to leave them there. Sometimes I smell that same chemical odor. Sometimes the wallpaper in my new room feels warm. Sometimes I hear Caroline's voice in the dark. Kids don't matter. And Ray's voice follows. Maybe tonight. I don't think they're gone. Not really. Some monsters
don't die in a prison cell. Some monsters live in the walls.